Imagine a kid who's got all the love in the world, protected from any kind of trouble, and handed everything he ever wanted. Now picture that same kid growing up into a cold, cruel murderer with a heart so hard he believes the whole world owes him, and anyone who gets in his way is gonna pay big time. This isn't just any kid. This is a kid who even scared his own mom, a kid who smashed every rule and boundary without a care about what would happen next. This is the story of Derek Leitz. And today, we're gonna dive into every chilling detail of how a spoiled kid turned into a monster. Let's get started. Derek Campos Leitz was born on November 13, 1991. At the time of the big events, he was a 20-year-old guy living with his mom in Wisconsin, USA. When Derek was born, his mom, Shelley, was only 19 and still in college. Shelley never planned on having a kid right then, and she knew life was gonna be tough from that point on, especially since the guy who got her pregnant didn't want anything to do with the baby, leaving her to raise Derek all by herself. Those next few months were full of worry and nerves for Shelley. She had no clue how she'd take care of the baby she was expecting. When Derek was born, she held him in her arms, looked at him, and felt a sense of peace wash over her. She said right then and there that she'd do everything to make sure her son had a good life. Being a mom came with a lot of challenges for Shelley, but she always tried her best. When Derek was just 7 weeks old, he got sick and wouldn't stop crying. She rushed him to the hospital that same day, and the doctors found out he had serious pneumonia, messing with his breathing. Things were critical. They had to airlift him urgently to a special hospital in Duluth, Minnesota. The flight took over 2 hours, and Shelley was a nervous wreck the whole time. They got to the hospital, and Derek was rushed in right away. The doctor told Shelley he couldn't guarantee her son would make it, that his condition was that bad. Shelley started praying and promised herself that if her son survived, she'd make him the happiest kid in the world. And as you probably guessed, Derek pulled through. After that, Shelley became super protective and loving toward Derek. People close to her said she gave him pretty much everything he asked for and let him have whatever he wanted. That obviously spoiled him rotten, and as we all know, that kind of thing usually doesn't end well. Derek's childhood seemed normal enough at first. But as he grew, he started showing some weird behavior. He turned into an aggressive kid who wouldn't take no for an answer. Shelley was with Derek in a supermarket. They passed the toy aisle, and the boy asked for a toy he really liked. But that day, Shelley was watching her money and told him she couldn't buy it, promising they'd come back another day to get it. Derek lost it. He grabbed the toy he wanted and smashed it. Then he picked up another one just like it and told his mom that if she didn't buy it, he'd break that one too. Shelley gave in and bought it, but later she said she'd never seen Derek like that. His eyes were full of hate. As the years went on, Derek kept acting strange. Unlike other kids, when he ate, he wouldn't touch his food, not even pizza, fries, or a sandwich. He'd only eat with a fork and knife. He also didn't like playing with other kids. He'd even attack kids who tried to play with him. Even the way he played with his toys was odd. Derek would line up all his toys in front of him in a super organized way. Then he'd step back a few feet and just stare at them for a while. He'd only touch them again to put them away. He didn't interact much with other adults besides his mom either. A friend of Shelley's visited her at home and tried to talk to Derek, but the boy just ignored her with an annoyed look. That same friend brought her son, who was about the same age as Derek. The boy tried to play with Derek, but Derek wasn't interested. Derek pushed him and started hitting him. Shelley and her friend saw it happen and quickly stopped Derek, who even tried to bite his own mom. A few years later, when Derek was around 7 or 8, Shelley met a guy named Robert and started dating him. Robert came over to Shelley's house to meet Derek, and their meeting was weird. Robert was a playful guy and tried to play with Derek, but the boy totally ignored him. Even though Robert could tell Derek wasn't a normal kid, he kept trying to connect. Robert started messing with the boy's hair, looking at his scalp like he was searching for something. When Shelley saw this, she asked what he was doing, and Robert smiled and said he was just looking for the number 666. Shelley didn't get it and was kinda confused, so Robert told her to relax. It was just a joke. Later, she figured out what he meant. Their relationship grew. They decided to get married. After the wedding, on June 20, 2000, they moved in together, and Robert started treating Derek like his own son. Before that, Shelley never set any limits for Derek. He basically did whatever he wanted. Robert knew that was bad for a kid, and since he was now part of the family, he thought it was time to step in. He started setting rules and boundaries for Derek, which the boy wasn't used to at all. On their first Christmas together, on December 25, 2000, Robert got up early, put the presents under the tree, made a big breakfast, and waited for Shelley and Derek to wake up so they could all enjoy it. But as soon as Shelley and Derek woke up, Derek ran straight to the tree to open his gifts. Shelley had promised him a video game, so he could hardly wait. But now there were rules in the house. Robert told Derek he could only open presents after he ate breakfast. Robert wanted that Christmas to be special. It was their first one together as a family. He wanted everyone to sit at the table, eat the big breakfast he made, and talk like families do. Obviously, Derek didn't like that. He told Robert he wasn't hungry and wanted to open the presents first. Robert stood firm and said that wasn't happening. If Derek didn't eat, he wouldn't get to open any presents that day. This was something Shelley had never done, and she just watched. She knew Robert was doing the right thing for Derek. Derek sat at the table but just stared at the food and didn't eat a bite. Robert kept telling him he could only open presents if he ate. Robert and Shelley finished eating, but Derek still hadn't touched his plate. They got up, cleaned up, and left his plate there. Hours passed and night came, with Derek still sitting there, not eating and not opening any presents. Seeing her son wasn't gonna eat, Shelley told him to go to bed. The next morning, when Robert left early for work, Shelley, knowing her husband wasn't home, gave in to Derek's tantrum and gave him the present she'd bought. As soon as Derek opened it, he saw it was the video game, but he didn't say thanks or even react. Instead of playing with it, he picked it up, climbed onto the couch, and threw it as hard as he could, smashing it. Derek slowly walked back to his room like he didn't care about any consequences. Shelley was shaken up and started crying. She took the broken game, put it back in the box, and returned to the store. She told an employee there was a problem during shipping and it wasn't working. Shelley got a new video game, and when she got home, she gave it to Derek, who didn't break it this time. Robert never found out about this. Some folks who followed the case said Shelley did it because she loved her son, but also because she was scared of him. When Derek hit his teen years, his behavior got even worse and things at home became unbearable. Derek only wanted to stay locked in his room, and every time Robert tried to talk to him, Derek would argue, yell, and curse. They never got physical, but the fights were so intense it felt like they could explode at any second. Shelley was totally lost in all of this. She watched the arguments and felt helpless. She loved both her son and her husband, and she was afraid it would tear the family apart. At first, she didn't step in. She tried to calm things down, though most of the time she sided with Derek even when he was clearly wrong. Robert couldn't take it anymore. He asked for a divorce and left the house. As time went on, Derek's behavior didn't change. He didn't make friends, didn't like talking to anyone, and just wanted to stay in his room. Shelley decided to take her son to a psychologist to see if they could help. The psychologist who saw Derek said he had depression and prescribed some treatment, but Derek only stuck with it for a short while. In February 2, 2009, just before Derek turned 18, he met a girl named Macy, who was 16 at the time. Macy was the total opposite of Derek. She was outgoing, full of energy, had tons of friends, and loved going out. Still, the two hit it off and started dating. After he started dating Macy, Derek even changed his behavior. He started smiling, was sweet to his girlfriend, got more talkative, and even followed some rules at home. He even told Macy he loved her, something he'd never said to his mom. Every time Shelley told her son she loved him, he'd just stay quiet and not say anything back. Shelley was thrilled about their relationship. To her, Macy filled in what was missing in Derek. She thought her son might finally act normal and live a normal life, but she was dead wrong. In their first year together, Derek told his mom that Macy was pregnant. Shelley was excited about the news, even though the couple was super young and not ready to raise a kid. She even suggested Macy move in with them. At that point, neither Derek nor Macy had finished high school yet, and they didn't have jobs. So on March 1, 2010, at noon, Macy took Shelley up on her offer and moved in. At first, everything seemed great. They even got a Labrador dog named Lucy. The next year, on February 2, 2011, Derek graduated high school and their son, Gabriel, was born. Macy still had to finish her last year of high school, and when she went back to school after having the baby, Derek took care of their son most of the time. People said Derek was a great dad. He was attentive, loving, and didn't complain about changing diapers, cooking, or playing with the baby, which was hard to believe given how he'd been his whole life. But not long before the kid turned 1, Derek started slipping back to his old ways. He began making rules for almost everything in the house, and everyone had to follow them. This included keeping things clean, organizing, meal times, TV time, you name it. Everything had to be done his way. The curtains in the house always had to stay closed. If Shelley woke up before him, she'd go to the living room and open the curtains to let some light in. But as soon as Derek woke up, he'd go close them again. On top of that, Derek got frustrated with everything and would argue over anything. He wouldn't let his son play in the backyard anymore, so the kid could only play inside. He also made a menu of all the meals he liked best, and his mom had to cook whatever he picked, no matter the day or time. He controlled the grocery shopping too, even though he didn't work to help out. After graduating, Macy got a job, and the only time Derek let her leave the house was to go to work. He set strict times for her to leave and return, timing her route from home to work and back. He knew exactly when she left work and when she should be home. If she was even a minute late, Derek would argue with her when she got back. Shelley tried to calm things down, but Derek told her to butt out. Because of all this, Shelley, who'd been happy about her son's improvement, started feeling depressed when she saw him getting worse. She turned back to alcohol to cope, something she'd struggled with before. She fell into that addiction again, trying to feel better and escape her reality. Derek was 19, and he wasn't satisfied just bossing people around anymore. He started saying creepy things that made everyone uneasy. One night, Shelley went to the kitchen to grab some water from the fridge and found Derek sitting at the table, cleaning an AK-47 rifle. Shelley had no idea how he got the gun, and she was so scared she froze, not knowing what to do. When she turned to walk to another room, Derek pointed the gun at her and asked if she was afraid of him. Shelley couldn't move or answer. She went to her room, and after that, Shelley spent most of her time locked in her room drinking. Out of fear of her own son, she started avoiding him, and her room became her safe place. She only left for work, and when she had to deal with Derek, she'd only say what was necessary to keep him calm. Derek noticed his mom was spending more time in her room and dodging him. Every now and then, he'd go to her door, knock, and ask about something in the house. It was like he was reminding her he was there, asserting some kind of control. Shelley got sick and needed surgery to remove her gallbladder, so she had to go to the hospital. When she came back home, she noticed Lucy, their dog, was gone. She asked Derek where Lucy was, and he said the dog ran into the street and got hit by a car. Terrified, Shelley asked where the dog was now, and Derek said she died and he'd gotten rid of the body. But Lucy never ran into the street, so Shelley knew he was lying and probably had something to do with it. But she was too scared to call him out and just pretended to believe him. Around this time, Derek started abusing Macy, his girlfriend. That was the last straw for Macy. She'd had enough of living with him. On her 18th birthday on July 15, 2012, while Derek was out, Macy packed her stuff and left. She decided to leave Gabriel, their son, behind because she thought if she took him, Derek would hunt her down and might hurt her out of revenge. Macy had already talked to Shelley, who agreed with her choice. When Derek got home and Shelley told him Macy was gone, he just sat down, stayed silent, and showed no emotion. Shelley expected a big reaction, but Derek just stared at her, then stood up, lowered his head, and went to his room. Shelley was heading to work when she found Derek in the living room with all the curtains closed, pacing back and forth. He was talking to himself, repeating the same phrase over and over. Gabriel will never call another man dad. Shelley asked what was wrong, but Derek ignored her and kept saying it. Not wanting to be late for work, she left him like that and went to her job. By then, Shelley had stopped drinking and was going to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. She was making positive changes and feeling better. The next day, Shelley woke up early as usual and went to work. She said goodbye to everyone and drove home. As she pulled up on September 8, 2012, at 9 p.m., she saw Macy's car in the driveway, and the front door was open. At first, she thought Macy might have come to see Derek, but when she walked in, the house was eerily quiet. In the living room, she spotted what looked like blood stains. She followed them to the bathroom. The door was locked, but she could see blood seeping out from under it. Terrified, she worried Derek might have hurt himself or their son. But when she forced the door open, she found Macy in the bathtub with a deep cut in her neck. Desperate, Shelley searched the house for her grandson while calling the police, but there was no sign of Gabriel or Derek. The cops showed up fast, and when they saw the bathroom, they knew Macy was gone. All Shelley could do was cry in despair, fearing Derek might do the same to his own son.
Why is that? I don't know where he is. I've never not known where he is. Well, it's like, what does it matter what my birthday was or what I used to do for a job?
They took her to the police station, where officers tried to calm her down and asked if she knew where Derek might be. She said she had no idea. He wasn't the type to go out much or have a special hideout. Since Derek was the main suspect in Macy's murder and Gabriel's disappearance, the next morning, around 5 a.m. on September 9, 2012, at 5 a.m., Derek checked into a hotel a few miles from home. He had Gabriel with him and seemed totally calm. Thanks to the alert, the hotel clerk recognized him but played it cool, acting normal while serving him. When Derek went to his room with his son, the clerk called the police. They arrived a few minutes later, arrested Derek without a fight, and rescued Gabriel. The kid was okay, no injuries. Derek still had on the same clothes from the crime, with Macy's blood on his shoes, matching the bloodstains at the house, a big piece of evidence against him. In the car he used to escape, Shelley's car, police found the murder weapon, a kitchen knife. Later, they brought Derek in for questioning and let him call his mom. On that call, Derek apologized, saying he never meant for things to end like this. Shelley told him she loved him, and he said he loved her too.
I'm sorry about this whole thing. I didn't mean for anything to happen like this. I'm really sorry.
All I can say is I'm still just really sorry about the whole situation. There's nothing I can do about it now. I do anything to go back in time, but it's not how life works. I love you too. Please take good care of my baby.
He took a plea deal, pleading guilty to killing Macy. So, in February 2, 2013, Derek Leitz got life in prison, with a chance at parole after 40 years. Macy's funeral happened a few days after she died, on September 15, 2012, at 2 p.m., and it was full of sadness and anger. After all that, Shelley couldn't stand living in her house anymore because of the awful memories, so she moved. She got custody of her grandson and now lives in a quiet, isolated spot where no one knows her story. In a statement, Shelley said she's raising Gabriel totally different from how she raised Derek. She doesn't want him turning out like his dad. She also feels guilty about what happened to Macy and swears she'll do everything to make sure Gabriel's life is completely different. I couldn't find out if Shelley takes Gabriel to visit Derek in prison, but what we do know is Derek's locked up in a maximum security prison in Wisconsin and will probably only leave when he's old.